When Ryuichi Kihara looked into the camera just days after standing on top of the Olympic podium in Milan Cortina, his words carried a weight that reached far beyond figure skating. There was no hesitation in his voice, no pause to search for the perfect answer. It sounded as though he had known exactly what he wanted to say long before anyone asked the question. He simply smiled and said that if he were ever born again and had the chance to skate one more time, he would choose Riku Miura as his partner all over again. It was a simple sentence, yet for people who understand pair skating, it meant far more than a romantic headline or an emotional quote. It was the kind of statement that only comes after years of trust, sacrifice, disappointment, and shared victories. Within hours, the interview spread across social media, and fans around the world began discussing what those words truly meant. Some heard gratitude. Others heard loyalty. Many believed they were listening to something much deeper than either. But perhaps the most interesting question isn't why he said it. The real question is what those words actually represented after everything the two had experienced together. Because in pair skating, choosing the same partner again is never just about friendship. It is about choosing the same journey, the same struggles, and every difficult moment that shaped the people standing on the podium. To understand why those words touched so many people, you have to go back to where the story really began. Before Olympic gold medals, before world titles, before millions of fans knew their names, there was uncertainty. There was a future that almost never happened. In 2019, Riku Miura was still a teenager searching for the right partner to continue her dream in pair skating. Finding the perfect partner is one of the hardest challenges in the sport. It isn't simply about matching talent. Height, timing, strength, skating style, communication, trust, and even personality all have to fit together almost perfectly. Many talented skaters spend years searching without ever finding the right combination. At the same time, Ryuichi Kihara was standing at a crossroads in his own career. Years of hard work had not produced the results he hoped for, and the possibility of retirement was becoming more realistic every day. He had already experienced the highest level of competition, but continuing no longer seemed practical. Like many athletes facing uncertainty, he even found himself working outside competition while wondering whether it was finally time to walk away from the sport that had defined his life. Then everything changed because of one decision. Instead of looking elsewhere, the young Riku Miura reached out and asked him to skate together. It sounded like a simple invitation, but in reality it carried enormous risk for both of them. She was placing her future in the hands of someone whose career seemed to be approaching its final chapter. He, meanwhile, had to decide whether he was willing to believe in another beginning when he had already started preparing for an ending. Neither of them could possibly know what the next 7 years would bring. There were no guarantees of medals, championships, or Olympic success. All they had was a shared willingness to take a chance on each other. Looking back today, that single conversation may have become one of the most important moments in modern Japanese figure skating. Years later, Kihara openly admitted something remarkable. If Riku had never approached him, he believed he would have retired from competitive skating altogether. Think about what that really means. One conversation changed not only the direction of his career but the direction of his entire life. Every medal, every standing ovation, every unforgettable performance that followed existed because someone believed in him at exactly the right moment. That kind of realization doesn't disappear with time. If anything, it grows stronger. It explains why his later comments carried such emotional power. He wasn't simply thanking his skating partner for winning competitions together. He was acknowledging the person who gave him a reason to keep chasing a dream that had almost slipped away. Riku's perspective reveals another side of the story. During interviews reflecting on their years together, she described the partnership as something that helped her grow not only as an athlete but also as a person. Those words matter because they show that their relationship extended far beyond training sessions and competition results. Elite athletes often measure their careers through rankings, medals, and statistics, but personal growth is much harder to quantify. When someone says another person helped shape who they became, they are describing a connection that cannot be measured on a scoreboard. That may explain why, during one particularly emotional Olympic team event, she wrote a heartfelt message thanking Kihara for skating alongside her. She reminded him that together they were stronger than ever. It wasn't simply encouragement before competition. It was recognition of everything they had built side by side over countless mornings, exhausting practices, painful injuries, and difficult setbacks. What makes their partnership so compelling is that both athletes expressed similar feelings in very different ways. Kihara often communicated openly through words. He was comfortable telling the world exactly how much his partner meant to him. Miura, on the other hand, tended to express herself through actions. While he spoke directly, she quietly demonstrated her trust through small gestures that carried enormous emotional significance. This contrast became one of the defining characteristics of their partnership. One partner verbalized emotions. The other lived them. Neither approach was stronger than the other because together they formed a balance that seemed perfectly suited to the demands of pair skating. Perhaps that balance explains why their chemistry on the ice felt so effortless. Pair skating requires complete synchronization. Every lift, throw, twist, and landing depends on absolute confidence between two people. Even the smallest hesitation can lead to mistakes or serious injuries. Technical skill is essential, but trust is what transforms talented athletes into world champions. Coaches can teach mechanics, judges can reward execution, and choreographers can create beautiful programs, but trust cannot be manufactured. It develops slowly through shared experiences, especially during the moments when everything goes wrong. That is exactly what Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara experienced together. They celebrated victories, but they also endured disappointment, physical pain, and the enormous pressure that comes with representing an entire nation on the world's biggest stages. Every challenge strengthened the invisible bond that audiences could sense each time they stepped onto the ice. As their partnership evolved, something remarkable began to happen. Their skating styles naturally complemented each other. Kihara later explained that both of them enjoyed skating with speed, allowing their programs to build momentum in a way that felt exciting and authentic. That compatibility extended beyond physical ability. They seemed to understand each other's instincts without needing constant explanation. Timing became second nature. Confidence replaced hesitation. What once required careful planning gradually became intuitive. In pair skating, reaching that level of understanding is incredibly rare. It cannot be rushed, and it cannot be copied. It is earned through years of shared commitment. Looking back now, it becomes easier to understand why Kihara's Olympic interview resonated so deeply. His statement about choosing Miura again in another life wasn't based solely on winning gold. Medals alone rarely inspire that kind of certainty. Instead, his words reflected every ordinary day that led to extraordinary success. They reflected the mornings when training felt impossible, the evenings spent analyzing mistakes, the setbacks that forced them to start over, and the quiet moments when one partner encouraged the other to keep believing. Olympic glory may have provided the perfect stage for the statement, but the meaning behind it had been developing for years. There is another reason the interview continues to fascinate fans. It invites people to think about choice instead of destiny. Many successful partnerships begin because circumstances happen to align. But saying you would make the exact same choice again changes the entire meaning of the relationship. It transforms coincidence into intention. It says that even with complete freedom to choose any path, the same person would still be standing beside you. That idea carries enormous emotional weight, especially in a sport where partnerships constantly change and careers often end unexpectedly. For Kihara, the answer seemed effortless because, in his mind, there was never another option worth considering. And as their remarkable journey continued, more moments would reveal just how deeply that conviction was rooted, not only in words, but in the countless actions that defined one of figure skating's most unforgettable partnerships. One of the most fascinating parts of Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara's story is that the deeper their partnership became, the less it seemed to fit into any simple category. Fans, reporters, and television hosts repeatedly asked the same question in different ways. Were they simply teammates? Were they best friends? Was there something more? Year after year, the curiosity never disappeared. Yet Miura rarely answered those questions directly. Instead, she became known for one response that almost turned into her signature. With a smile, She would simply say that she would leave it to everyone's imagination. It sounded playful, but the more often she repeated it, the more meaningful it became. She wasn't avoiding the question because she lacked an answer. She was refusing to reduce a relationship built over years into a single label that could never fully explain what they shared. Think about it for a moment. If someone asks whether two people are dating, there are usually only two expected answers: yes or no. But life is rarely that simple. Human relationships often become much more complicated than the language we use to describe them. A pair skating partnership is one of the rare relationships that demands complete emotional trust while also requiring incredible physical precision. Two athletes spend nearly every day together, rely on one another for safety, share victories, survive failures, travel across the world, and dedicate years to one common dream. Whatever name someone chooses to give that connection, it will almost certainly leave something important out. Perhaps that is why Miura's answer always felt surprisingly honest. Rather than forcing their story into a definition, she left room for people to recognize that some relationships are simply too unique to fit inside ordinary categories. Meanwhile, Kihara approached similar questions from the opposite direction. He rarely hid how grateful he felt toward his partner. During retirement interviews, he openly said that without Riku Miura, they never would have reached the level they ultimately achieved. He described her as the greatest partner he could have hoped for and thanked her from the bottom of his heart. Those weren't words chosen for dramatic effect. They reflected years of shared experiences that had completely transformed his life. The man who once believed retirement was unavoidable was now looking back on a career with no regrets, standing beside the very person who had convinced him to continue. Gratitude, in his case, wasn't just an emotion. It became part of the story he wanted the world to remember. Interestingly, these different communication styles never created distance between them. If anything, they strengthened the partnership. Kihara often expressed emotions through spoken words. Miura expressed hers through thoughtful actions. During one major competition, before the free skate, she quietly left a handwritten message where he would find it. The note reminded him that they could absolutely succeed because they had already done the work necessary to achieve their goal. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't delivered in front of cameras. It was a private act of encouragement designed specifically for one person at one critical moment. Those small gestures often reveal more about a relationship than public interviews ever could. They demonstrate care without asking for attention. Another unforgettable moment came when emotions were running especially high before an important performance. Kihara was overwhelmed by the pressure of the occasion, and Miura responded with gentle humor that immediately helped ease the tension. She understood exactly what he needed in that moment. Not a motivational speech, but a reminder to breathe, smile, and trust the process they had spent years building together. That ability to read each other's emotional state became one of the invisible strengths behind their success. Spectators watching from the stands saw beautiful lifts and synchronized choreography. What they couldn't always see was the quiet, emotional support happening before every performance, long before the music even began. This pattern repeated itself throughout their partnership. Whenever Kihara found the words, Miura often answered through actions. Whenever one carried the emotional burden, the other provided stability. It created a balance that coaches dream about but rarely witness. Elite athletes often talk about chemistry, but chemistry isn't magic. It develops through countless ordinary moments that most people never see. Long training sessions, difficult conversations, shared disappointments, quiet encouragement after mistakes. Those moments rarely appear in highlight videos, yet they become the foundation for every extraordinary performance that follows. As they continued winning medals and gaining international recognition, respected coaches also began describing them in remarkable terms. Rather than praising only their technical ability, many spoke about them as an example of what pair skating should look like when everything comes together perfectly. Their movements appeared natural. Their timing felt effortless. Their trust was obvious even from a distance. That reputation didn't emerge overnight. It was built through years of consistency and mutual commitment. Coaches recognized that what audiences were watching wasn't simply two talented individuals performing side by side. They were watching a partnership that had evolved into something greater than the sum of its individual parts. Kihara once reflected on the very first time they skated together during a tryout. According to his recollection, something happened almost immediately. As soon as he lifted Miura, he felt an instinctive certainty that surprised even him. It wasn't a technical calculation based on measurements or statistics. It was a feeling that this partnership could work in a way previous ones never had. Later, he described it almost like a bolt of lightning, a sudden realization that appeared before there was any logical evidence to support it. At the time, neither of them knew whether they would ever become world champions or Olympic medalists. All they had was instinct. Years later, looking back after everything they accomplished together, that first impression seemed almost prophetic. What makes that memory especially meaningful is how perfectly it connects to his later comments about choosing Miura again in another life. Those two moments, separated by years of triumph and hardship, are linked by the same unwavering certainty. The confidence he felt during that very first skate never disappeared. Instead, it grew stronger with every season they spent together. It survived injuries, difficult competitions, disappointing results, and the relentless pressure that comes with competing at the highest level. Many partnerships begin with excitement but gradually lose momentum. They seemed to move in the opposite direction. The longer they skated together, the stronger the conviction became. Miura's own reflections reveal a similar sense of fulfillment, although she expressed it differently. Looking back on their 7 years together, she described the experience as irreplaceable. She emphasized that she had grown not only as an athlete but as a person, suggesting that the partnership shaped her life in ways that extended far beyond competition. Those words carry tremendous significance because athletes often define success through medals. Yet when someone says the greatest reward was personal growth, they are pointing towards something much more lasting. Championships eventually become history. Records are broken. New champions emerge. But becoming a better person because of someone else's influence is a legacy that remains long after competitive careers have ended. One particularly meaningful decision further illustrated her commitment. Miura made it clear that when Kihara's competitive career came to an end, she had no intention of continuing with another partner. That statement may not have included the dramatic phrase about another lifetime, but in many ways it carried equal emotional weight. Rather than imagining a hypothetical future, she spoke about the reality of the present. She wasn't interested in replacing what they had built together because, in her eyes, it simply couldn't be replaced. Their partnership wasn't something interchangeable. It was unique, created through years of shared effort that could never be recreated with someone else. This difference between their words is exactly what makes their story so compelling. Kihara imagined another lifetime and declared that he would make the same choice again. Miura focused on the lifetime they had already shared and made it clear that it was enough. Two different ways of expressing the same underlying truth. One looked toward the future. The other honored the present. Neither contradicted the other. Instead, they completed each other, just as they always had on the ice. By the time their careers reached their final chapters, it became increasingly clear why so many journalists eventually stopped asking certain questions altogether. Some reporters later admitted there were questions they deliberately chose not to ask during retirement interviews because they already understood that no simple answer could possibly capture the reality of the relationship between Miura and Kihara. After 7 remarkable years together, their story had already spoken louder than any single interview ever could. And perhaps that is why millions of fans continue to return to their performances, not only to admire the athletic excellence, but to witness a partnership built on trust, loyalty, gratitude, and a shared belief that some choices become so meaningful, they would gladly make them all over again. That be why the end of their journey, what remained wasn't just a collection of medals or historic results. It was the feeling that two people had completely changed each other's lives through one decision made years earlier. In 2019, a young skater asked an older athlete who was considering retirement to take one more chance. He said yes. Everything that followed, the world titles, the Olympic glory, the tears, the laughter, the handwritten messages, the sleepless nights, and the unforgettable performances, grew from that single moment. That is why Kihara's words about choosing Miura again carried such extraordinary weight. He wasn't only celebrating success, he was celebrating the life that became possible because she walked up to him and said, "Let's skate together." And Miura, in her own quieter way, answered with actions that said just as much. She stood beside him through every challenge, called their years together irreplaceable, and made it clear that what they built could never simply be repeated with someone else. Whether fans call it friendship, partnership, love, or something beyond all three, one truth is impossible to miss. Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara became each other's once-in-a-lifetime choice, and that is why their story continues to resonate long after the music has ended.